What are you really noticing about the tech space at the moment, and what are some of the key trends that are really shaping 2024 and beyond?
I think it's an incredibly exciting time, but it's also a time with quite a lot of fear of the unknown for the technology space. Data's been around now for a while, and I think we've had quite a lot of kind of big players and developments within the data science analytics space. What we're seeing now is this kind of shift to AI, generative AI, LLMs. But with that comes a lot of risk around compliance, around security, around data governance. So yeah, I think that's the big shift we're seeing within customers, right, is that we've had a lot of movement to the cloud. We've seen a lot of development and maturity from a data space holistically. But it's now that kind of fear of the unknown, which is AI has massive potential for all organizations across the globe, no matter what industry you're in. But because of the development and the pace of development, there's a lot of things that could potentially go wrong. And I think that's the interesting kind of inflection point we're at, which is that there's huge excitement about the value it can bring, but also fear of the potential ramifications if you use that incorrectly.
And what are some of the key challenges being faced by leaders right now? And are there any sort of quick fixes or words of advice that you have for those pain points?
I think again, they're being asked to innovate very quickly, whilst also having very stringent guardrails in places, right? So how can they kind of employ these game-changing technologies from a productivity perspective? From a revenue building perspective, all of these kind of opportunities, whilst also the number one priority is very much for them to also minimize risk. So I think that's what we're really trying to help people with and trying to help them see is that actually by focusing very much on the governance and sticking to compliance and making sure that your data security is in order, that actually allows you to innovate. People are kind of racing to, deploy AI. But what you're quickly going to find is if they deploy AI without focusing on actually the security and the risk side of things, they could become unstuck further down the line. So it's about innovating, but doing it in a sensible and controlled manner, I think.
Yeah, well said. And obviously we're here today at CDAO UK in London.
Yeah.
What are you guys here to talk about today, and what are some of the key things that you really want to speak to attendees about?
Yeah, I think what we're keen to speak to people about is the idea of really trying to understand and do they have a good grasp of data across their entire environment. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but what we've seen over the previous kind of decade is the proliferation of cloud. There's still a lot of on-premise environments that customers have. There's SaaS applications. There's literally hundreds of databases, applications that enterprises have today. And I think what we're keen to understand is, do data leaders have a genuinely good grasp on all of the risk across their environments? And the way we help those leaders is that if they don't, we can automatically identify that risk by scanning and classifying data, but then also bring together three kind of key components of risk, which is security of data, governance and access to data, and then also privacy, which have traditionally been separate kind of silos within the organization. So for us, it's really about that piece of, trying to help them understand risk so that they can then innovate, essentially.
Got it. And then final question, how are you finding the CDAO UK event, and are you coming back next year?
Yes, brilliant. I guess the level of persona here in terms of seniority and leadership is really impressive. Even in the kind of 2 hours we've been here, like the people we've spoken to have been super excited about the event. We're really, really excited. I think it's one we'll come back to year after year.